most news in football isn't really that big a deal, and usually it's quite club specific. Take the Calvin Phillips deal, for example. It looks like a big transfer. It is a big transfer, but the reality is only West Ham fans are excited, and the only other fan base that will be discussing it or even care are Manchester City fans. It's not that big a deal. There's only two fan bases here that's impacted by it. You could argue Newcastle United perhaps are discussing it, but by and large, it's not that big a deal. But now and again, something comes along that just rocks the footballing world. We had it with Everton's point deduction, Man City's charges, and now we've had it today with Jurgen Klopp's announcement that he's stepping down as Liverpool manager at the end of the season. Wow, just wow. Nobody's seen this coming. Now, obviously, I'm not meant to have seen it coming. I'm not a Liverpool fan, but Liverpool fans didn't see it coming. Journalists didn't see it coming. And to be fair, I think the club have done really well to keep it under wraps, considering he notified them in November of his intention to leave at the end of the season. But what massive news this is, not just for Liverpool, but for the Premier League and football in general. The Premier League just got a lot more interesting next season as well off the back of this announcement. Now, don't worry, I'm not here to discuss it from a Liverpool point of view. That's for Liverpool fans to do. I don't know enough. That's for their fans to discuss. So if you're a Liverpool fan, this is probably where it ends for you, because from here on in, it's how this news impacts West Ham, or could impact West Ham, because the reality is we don't know yet. It might have zero impact on it, and a lot of you listening to this are going to think you're clutching at straws with a couple of these theories, Joe. Maybe that's the case, but when I heard the news today and it's sunk in, because it is that big news, once it's sunk in, you've watched Klopp's interviews and you've read the articles, then sort of like the domino effect is, does this impact West Ham? And there's two angles I'm coming at here today. First of all, we've got the player side of things, and second of all, we've got the managerial side of things. Now, I should warn you, just before we go any further, I'm not about to say West Ham can get Jurgen Klopp, okay? That's not a way to happen. I'm not a way to suggest that Klopp could become the next West Ham manager. Zero chance, none whatsoever. Now we've got that dealt with. But I do think there's maybe a little bit of a managerial interest potentially occurring off the back of these departures. So first of all, there's the player side of things. We know Jurgen Klopp was. Do we start discussing him in past tense yet? He's not quite gone yet. Jurgen Klopp is a massive fan of Jarrod Bowen. He's been a huge admirer for a number of seasons now, and he speaks very publicly about him, including when they beat us in the Carabao Cup. Funny thing is, when he did that, my natural reaction at the time was, hang on a minute, he's practically tapping up Jarrod Bowen in public here. But he'd already told Liverpool that he was off ski at the end of the season. So I think he's maybe just a big fan of Jarrod Bowen, and I picked it up wrong because I have an emotional investment in Jarrod Bowen remaining at West Ham. But regardless, I think there's an expectation, I think it's a fair expectation, that Mo Salah leaves Liverpool in the summer, and arguably it's the right time to do it more now than ever. With Klopp going, Salah going, new era at Anfield, new manager would have a lot of money to spend as well. So perhaps that's the right thing to happen in the summer. But the expectation is Salah would leave. And of course it's a case of, well, who's going to replace him at Liverpool? Who have they identified and who are they going to go after? And I've always sometimes I've thought Bowen wouldn't get that move last season. There was evidence there as to why he shouldn't go to Liverpool. He wasn't good enough for West Ham. But this season he's showing again why he could go to Liverpool and play there. Now, not just Jarrod Bowen, there's Mohamed Kudus as well, but I'm leaving that one. And the reason I'm leaving that is because Klopp is a big fan of Jarrod Bowen and not necessarily of Mohamed Kudus. So Liverpool could still come after, they could still come after Jarrod Bowen as well, should Mo Salah go in the summer. But I think the chances of that occurring have decreased quite drastically actually with the departure of Jurgen Klopp. But not just Jurgen Klopp, because after the earthquake of Klopp leaving, you get the aftershock, and that's what I'm focusing on today. So there's two parts of that. So the first one is the sporting director. I wrote his name down, Jörg Schmadacke. He's leaving as well. He was sporting director in the Bundesliga prior to joining Liverpool. He just joined them back in the summer. I think he was at Wolfsburg before going there in the summer. So he's going already as well. Perhaps not a major loss. I don't know how he's got on at Liverpool. It's hard for me to say anything. Obviously, I think their summer recruitment was really impressive. The signings of Szoboszlai, McAllister, even Endo's playing really well at the minute as well. I was impressed with what they did in the summer. So he's going. So now you've got the manager, who's a big fan of Jarrod Bowen, leaving, and now you've got the sporting director, who been involved in the player recruitment departing as well. So it's relaxed me a little bit on the chances of Liverpool coming after Jarrod Bowen. Now, they may still do that. Should Salah go, they may still come after Bowen. They may come after Kudus. It's a possibility. But I'm talking about the probability, and I think that's decreased with the news that Klopp is off ski at the end of the season. Relax me a little bit anyway. The other side of things is the managerial side of it. And like I said, just to repeat myself, Klopp ain't coming to West Ham, okay? I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm not going to entertain it as a discussion, right? I'll entertain most things as a hypothetical discussion. But Jurgen Klopp rocking up at West Ham as manager, it's the equivalent. It's the equivalent of saying Mbappe would be good at West Ham. We discuss what the team would look like with Mbappe in it. It's not going to happen, right? It's just not. However, there's two managers' names now, isn't there? First of all, there's Xabi Alonso. Now, this depends on what you felt the chances of Alonso rocking up at West Ham was. I've always maintained there's zero chance. Zero chance of Alonso coming to West Ham. I've never believed it for 1 second. I think he's on a different level to West Ham, just like Jurgen Klopp is. He's doing really well at Leverkusen. They could win the Bundesliga. I hope they do win the Bundesliga. And, he's got a big release clause, but that only applies to 3 clubs, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid and Liverpool. So the release clause of 15 million is not even applicable to West Ham. But I just don't think Alonso turned down roles before going to Leverkusen. When he was at Real Sociedad B team, he still turned down moves to other Bundesliga clubs. He could have went to Gladbach. He didn't. He didn't want to go. He was waiting for the right club. Leverkusen came along. He's got really good relations with the CEO of Leverkusen and the person that was above Tim Steidten. I feel, and again, this depends on what you believe. I do not believe Steidten was responsible for bringing Alonso to Leverkusen. I don't believe that. I think there's 2 other people more responsible. Did he have a hand in identifying him? Possibly. I don't know. But I would suggest there's no evidence that Steidten brought him there, but there is evidence that other people brought Alonso to Leverkusen. So because I don't believe Steidten was responsible, I couldn't buy into the fact that he would follow Steidten to West Ham. First of all, on a personal basis because of Steidten, or on the level of West Ham being the club to lure him out of Leverkusen. I've never believed either. So I've always felt there's zero chance of us getting him. Now, obviously, the expectation is now that Alonso will go to Liverpool, that he would be Liverpool's number 1 choice, and I think he should be. I think that is who Liverpool should go and get, and I think they will get him. Ancelotti's just signed a new contract at Real Madrid as well, so the door potentially is closed on that one. And there's a reason Alonso's put those 3 clubs in his contract. It's not just because he's played for them. It's because they are the 3 of the biggest clubs in the world. That's probably the 3 he dreams of managing. Now, obviously, Bayern Munich's got a different conversation because it probably depends on what he does at Leverkusen. So if Alonso does well at Leverkusen, you might see the Bayern Munich job come up with Tuchel getting sacked. But for now, I think the move to Liverpool is likely for Alonso, and I'd like to see him in the Premier League. I do think he'd be a good fit for Liverpool, and as a player, he's somebody I loved growing up watching Xabi Alonso, so to see him in the Premier League would be good. Obviously, I would prefer him at West Ham. I've never really bought into it. So if he goes to Liverpool, best of luck to him. I think it'd be a wonderful acquisition to the Premier League and would replace Jurgen Klopp in a different manner. Klopp can be frustrating at times. It can be annoying to watch and can be a bit Marmite, but I think he's a big personality and a big character, and I think pound for pound, I think he's possibly the best manager in the Premier League today. So he's going to be a loss for the Premier League regardless of whether you like him or not. I think Alonso would potentially be a really great addition to the league. Now, the manager I'm going to speak about, who's not actually a manager right now, is Pepijn Lijnders. He is Jurgen Klopp's assistant manager. He's left, or is leaving. So the club announced Jurgen Klopp's going, they announced the sporting director's going, then they announced the backroom staff are going. Not all of them, but some of them are going. Klopp's main men are also leaving, which I found interesting because Pepijn was at Liverpool prior to Jurgen Klopp. He worked under Brendan Rodgers, and then he worked under Klopp. Then he went over to the Netherlands to become a manager himself. Got sacked. He didn't get them promoted. Didn't make the playoffs, so he got sacked. He went back to Liverpool to work under Jurgen Klopp and is the assistant manager today. Came under fire last season when Liverpool perhaps weren't doing so well. he brought out a book. It's a good read, actually. I should have took it through to show you I've got it. He brought out a book, Pep Lijnders did, and it's a really good read. It's all about Liverpool and how they achieved what they did. And he was almost getting accused of Liverpool struggling because he revealed Liverpool's secrets in the book, and he had to defend that. But regardless, the reason this is significant is because there was a belief that he might be the person to replace Jurgen Klopp eventually, whenever that was. Because obviously when this belief was going around, there was also an expectation that Jurgen Klopp was going to be here next season, the season after. And we didn't know when Jurgen Klopp was going to be departing Liverpool. But there was some, expectation. And to put it into context, when this morning, when that announcement came out about Jurgen Klopp and the bookies immediately priced up the next Liverpool manager market, the two people at the top by a mile was Xabi Alonso and Pepijn Lijnders. So the bookies were expecting him to become the next Liverpool manager prior to announcing that he was also going as well. So he's always been earmarked as Klopp's natural replacement at Liverpool. Well, that's no more. He's going as well. So what this does do is make someone available that was expected to be Klopp's successor at Liverpool. Now, we don't know what's happening in regards to David Moyes. My prediction at the minute is he will get a new contract. However, that can change. But that prediction can change because it would depend on what we achieve. If we were to go and finish 12th in the league this season and get knocked out of the next round of the Europa League, I would expect Moyes not to get offered a new contract. However, bearing in mind where we are in the league, my expectation is that he will get offered a new deal of some sort by the club. But should they not offer him a new contract and we enter a market for a new manager, I would almost expect Pepijn Lijnders to be on the short list because he will not be short of clubs to join as a manager. Of course, it depends on what Klopp's intending on doing. Has Klopp got a plan? Listening to his interview, it sounds like he's just needing a bit of a break. He just spoke about how he's not got the energy. But I did think it was quite significant that his backroom staff's leaving as well. Like I said, bear in mind, Pepijn worked under Brendan Rodgers. He wasn't Jurgen Klopp's man. He is Jurgen Klopp's man now. But when he first went to Liverpool, Brendan Rodgers was the manager at Anfield. But he's also leaving, like I said, with a couple of others as well. So they're following Klopp out the door. Is it because Klopp's got a plan and they bought into it and they're just following Klopp wherever he goes? Or are they a way to forge their own paths in football? I don't know. We don't know. I haven't a clue. This is maybe where Liverpool fans will have more of a clue as to why Lijnders is leaving. But from a West Ham's perspective, and this is where I'm clutching at straw, the Jarrod Bowen one's got a little bit of credibility given that Klopp's always publicly been a big fan of Jarrod Bowen. This one, there's no credibility, there's no evidence. This is just my opinion. I say theory, I'm not even suggesting anything. The only thing I'm suggesting is if Moyes was to go in the summer, Lijnders could be on the shortlist. He won't be short of offers. I think there'll be a few clubs looking at him and some good stature clubs as well, actually, potentially taking a gamble on this one. Now, whilst in regards to Steidten, like I said, I don't believe he was responsible for taking Alonso to Leverkusen. And there's no evidence, in my opinion, that Steidten would be responsible for the next manager of West Ham United. We don't know. In terms of his role, should he be? Yes, but you could argue that Mark Noble should also be involved, given that their job titles are on par. Sullivan will be involved. Karen Brady will be involved probably. I'd imagine there'll be some form of committee as to who to go and get. But Lijnders, while Sullivan wouldn't like it, is this a profile that Tim Steidten would like? Well, look at the way Liverpool play football. He's cut from the cloth of Jurgen Klopp. I'd imagine he's ticking a few boxes for Tim Steidten and Mark Noble in terms of what they'd like in a manager. But in terms of David Sullivan's checklist, I think there's a few crosses against Lijnders because he didn't do very well over the Netherlands. He failed over there, but he's still young, 40 something. I don't know. He's in his 40s. I don't think he's as young as 30. He's not. He must be in his 40s somewhere, right? But he looks young. He looks young. That's the book's fault, though. Anyway, there you go. There's me clutching at straws. Maybe Jarrod Bowen won't be off to Liverpool if they sell Mo Salah because Klopp's disappeared. And Pepijn Lijnders, could he be the next manager of West Ham if David Moyes leaves? Probably not. It's just my theory. I'll catch you in a bit.